think the first time that Kelvin and I hooked up was at the North Sea Jazz Festival. Kelvin was making these soundscapes and doing these things that I had never heard before. I just thought, like, shit, you know, I got to hook up with this cat. So when it was time for me to start doing some live things again, he was the guy that I called.
Craig Taborn, who's another really good friend of ours who worked with Carl in the Inner Zone Orchestra, couldn't make it. And he was like, yeah, man, you know, I really would like you to be involved, you know, but, you know, I don't know if you're into electronics. And I put on for him, and it was so ironic, this Future Sounds of Jazz that Compost had put out. And the last track on there was Bug in the Bass Bin. And when it started, I was like, oh, wait, here's the baddest one. You know this one? And it started, and he just looked at me like, you know, that's me, right? It's like, it's me and Carl. So it was funny how it actually happened. And then, you know, we met, and just like you said, it worked. When we work in his setting, of course, you got the tracks that are well known, that everybody comes to listen to and everything, that are already worked out. I'm glad now that, you know, we're working on some more of the spontaneous stuff.
Technically, I'm not playing notes, you know, I'm playing frequencies, and I think that's also what caught Kelvin's ear, is that, you know, it wasn't like I'm trying to play a C chord and F chord, or, you know, trying to go in a way that's, you know, strictly music-based. It's going outside of the box.
I'm using this wonderful new unit called Maschine that you guys put out that integrates the hardware and the software. And I liked it because it's so easy to get going and make beats right off the bat, right off the beginning. I didn't have to spend like 6 weeks understanding the language and then the GUI, the graphical interface. I just had ideas, I sat down, played the pads, and it worked out. Including a lot of the songs that I had already pre-worked out in Logic and Live and everything. When I sat down and worked with Maschine, it made my workflow easier, thinking in this concept of scenes and patterns, more thinking in terms of Ableton Live for creating music with loops, than thinking like I used to think with Logic and having these whole complex arrangements. Well, I like the idea of how you start with a pattern, and then the pattern combined with a group creates scenes. So to me, that's a two-dimensional concept, whereas you have one component that is just rhythmical and with the different sounds, and another component that is based on sound groupings. And I really like that because sometimes I like to take the same pattern and try different sounds. I mean, this drum kit, that drum kit, this keyboard, that keyboard, and it made it easier for me to get between different kind of sounds without having to reprogram everything. Yeah, that's how Maschine made my life easier in the workflow, not just in the studio, but also live, being able to see and work spontaneously.
To have a drum machine that you could sync with Tractor is in the same vein as what Jeff Mills has been doing with the 909 and turntables, or what Richie Houghton has done with decks and effects, or, you know, even what Derek May was doing back in the day when he was using 909 and turntables and tape decks. With doing that, me as a producer, it gives me the potential to maybe come up with ideas on the road that are very spontaneous in the performing sense, that I can remember back later, like, oh, you know, I came up with this thing, let me try it again with, you know, whatever I was working on at the time. And, you know, it's nice at the fingertips to be able to have, you know, 1,000 sounds, and I can see that the potential is really grand for this box.